my dear followers, dear viewers, my dear students at Khawarizmi High School, the Directorate of Marrakesh, the Regional Academy of Marrakesh Safi. Dear students across Morocco, welcome to a new lesson of the second year baccalaureate program. As you can see here, we're going to talk about writing a formal letter. So for the newcomers and for the new subscribers, please, if you want more videos about my lessons, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel here as it's shown on the screen, or try to actually look onto my Facebook page, which is entitled English for All, as it is also displayed here on the screen. Thank you so much for being here with me. Today we're going to move on to a new lesson, which is going to be about writing, and this is the last section or the last skill in this unit, unit number 7, before we move to unit 8. So, as you can see here, we have writing a formal letter. So we're going to talk about a formal letter, and we're going to actually talk about the different elements of a formal letter, and we will try to give some, if you want, important expressions that we can use if we want to address a particular person or a particular recipient with our letter. So what do we mean by a formal letter? We've already seen an informal letter that we write to what? To who? To our friends, our family members, people who are at our age. Today we're going to talk about a formal letter, which is simply, a formal letter can be defined as an official method of, or official way of correspondence with an administration with an organization or an institution. So as you can see here, a formal letter is an official way of correspondence, official way of correspondence with an administration, إدارة, an organization, منظمة, or an institution, مؤسسة. So this is an official way. So as you can see here, what is important to know, because we've already talked about the layout and the form, it's very important to pay attention to the shape of your letter. But it's more and more primordial and more important to actually know about the various expressions that we need. So let's start with the greetings. The greetings are, if you want, some particular and some precise ways and expressions of salutations. You're trying to what? To say hi in order to start your letter. So we have the greetings are dear sir or dear madam. Especially if you don't know who are you addressing. Are you addressing a male or a female? So we can write dear sir or madam. We can also use dear Mr. or Mrs. President. Dear Mr. Mrs. President. You mentioned this title here, the president of an institution or an organization. You can also use, if you know the name of the person, especially the family name, the surname, dear Mr. Brown or dear Mrs. Brown. We can also use to whom. Need to rewrite this one. To whom it may concern. So the equivalent in Arabic is إلى من يهمه الأمر. To whom it may concern. So all these greetings are used in order to start or to greet a person in a formal letter. The opening. So the opening normally here can be, if you want, different from one subject of the letter to another. It depends on what you want to talk about. If it is, for example, a particular type of a letter, like, for example, you would like to thank the administration or the employer, if you want to make a request, if you want to apologize, it depends on the type of your letter. So the opening can be something like a reference to a previous letter. We can say, let me thank you so much for your last letter. You can also use this one. I am writing this letter in reference to, you mentioned the subject, what do you want to talk about? You can also write, for example, I am addressing you in order to inform you of a particular problem. I am honored to write this letter to you in order to, and then you mention the subject of your letter. I'm honored to write this letter to you in order to, for example, thank you, in order to apologize for you, in order to request something, and so on and so forth. So we have the opening. This is the first paragraph or the first line of your letter. Then we have the body of the letter. What do we mean by the body of the letter? We simply mean the content. This is the main content. You can say here the main content. So you are writing an official letter, a formal letter to an administration or to an organization, maybe to ask them, for example, to react or to deal with a particular problem. So we can say, for example, I would like to draw your attention to, and you give them the problem that you would like to what? To draw their attention to, okay? I feel obliged to call for your, if you want, urgent, to call for your urgent intervention. Maybe to protect environment, to deal with a problem like poverty, like illiteracy, and so on and so forth. I felt a big responsibility to, if you want, inquire about, maybe you have some questions that you would like this organization to answer, or some details that you need this organization to give you, and so on and so forth. So I felt a big responsibility to inquire about. It sounds urgent for me to let you know about to let you know about a particular problem or a particular issue, and you try to explain, if you want, the main content of your formal letter. Now let's move on to the closure. The closure is the equivalent of a conclusion in a classic and conventional paragraph or conventional essay. So the closure here, if you want, declares and announces the end of the letter. So we can simply say, the popular and the most common one is, looking forward to hearing from you. Okay? Please accept my, you can say, for example, my expressions of, if you want, we can write it down, my expressions of gratitude, my expressions of, my warmest expressions of respect, please accept my apologies, and so on and so forth. We can also actually have until a further contact from you, please accept my, if you want, warm salutations, or my warmest salutations, if you want. We have many other ways of making these closures. We have, some fixed ones, we have novel and new ways, so you can opt for these ones here, as you can see. The farewell is the same as what? As the greetings here at the beginning. So here we have farewell, it means that we have some expressions of saying what? Goodbye. So don't forget that we are actually talking about a formal what? A formal letter. So we can use things like sincerely. Okay? We can also use faithfully. We can also use best regards. We can also use due respect. We can also use, can accept this one here for both informal and formal. Goodbye for now. Although this one seems a little bit informal, but we can accept it. We can actually use it as a farewell expression for formal letters. Okay? We have due respect, best regards, faithfully, sincerely. We can also use yours. And of course, in the end, you can sign your letter. So, what is important to remember and what is important to know about formal letters is that the language and the jargon that we use is somehow, polite language. It's not the familiar words and familiar jargon that we use with our friends and with our family members. Here we have to show some respect to the recipient, to the person that we actually write a letter to, the addressee. We should actually show some respect and politeness towards them. So this is all about, a formal letter. Please, you have all the expressions here. You have all the elements of a formal letter. We have already talked about the shape of a letter. Do not hesitate to write your own letters. Please, it is something like a necessity for you to practice. We cannot teach you everything about writing, but you have to train yourselves writing for the first time, for the second, for the third, for a dozen of times, so that you can actually end up being a good writer, not a good author, but a good writer, a person who can discuss a particular idea, a particular problem, or a particular issue. So I think we have reached the end. We're going to stop here. today. Thank you so much for your availability. Thanks a lot for being here with me. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as you can see here, or try to log on to my Facebook page, English for All. Thank you so much and see you in another video. Goodbye guys, next time.